Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
This week's national interest raises a question to begin with, which is how do we classify our working classes or our workers? So usually we classify them in terms of the color of the collars they wear or the uniforms or the clothes they wear to work. So we say white collar and blue collar. Don't take it literally. I might be wearing a collar that's blue today, but I am a white collar worker. So is there a category besides that? So the proposition we have this week, it's provocative, but the proposition we have is that when we talk white collar and blue collar workers, we miss out a much larger section of working class Indians. A section which I might describe, as I said provocatively, as collarless workers. And why do we say collarless workers? Because you see them working, you see them loading and unloading bricks and cement and steel from trucks. You see them hauling brick and mortar at building sites. You see them repairing your vehicles. You see them mowing your lawns. You see them ironing your clothes on the street corner. Very often you will find that the kind of jobs are such in which a proper shirt is not a most convenient, comfortable thing to wear. So usually they'll strip down to their banyans or singlets, or maybe they'll be wearing a worn out t-shirt, or maybe somebody who's frying jalebis and samosas at your neighborhood halwai shop or your barber. So this is a huge Indian working class which misses the two conventional definition of white and blue collar, so we call them collarless. Again, not literal. Now, who are the people who are walking back across in India's heartlands? Back, in some cases, 1,000 kilometers away, 1,500, 2,000 kilometers away to their homes. They are going to India's labor exporting zones deep in the Hindi heartland or tribal India. Some of them you will see from Bombay are riding even Bombay's auto rickshaws with Bombay numbers going 2,000 kilometers. So these are people who had come to cities, and these are people who generally fall in this collarless working classes because they were in disorganized sectors. They were not in organized jobs. They were not assured their salaries. Once this lockdown came suddenly, because those who planned the lockdown, when they gamed the lockdown and they said, all right, this will be a containment zone, this will be a red zone, this will be a green zone, orange zone, or whatever, they somehow let this big section of Indian working classes slip through the cracks because they were not at the back of their mind. So they looked at the balconied classes, which we spoke about last week, or they looked at the really poor in India's villages, or they looked at maybe factory workers who might have salaries or who might have some sort of engagement where they are. In fact, many of the factories in distant parts of India have continued working because they have their workers living in situ. But this lot was forgotten. So they are the ones who suddenly found themselves without a wage. And these people depend on their daily wages or weekly wages. They have no wage assurance or job assurance. So they are the ones who then started walking back home. And because all transport was shut and nobody reassured them, nobody spoke with them, and nobody said, listen, hang on, don't go away. It's a matter of a few weeks. We will talk with your employers. We will subsidize your employers if needed. We'll make sure you get your wages these few weeks. And then even if you want to go, they will be transport. But they were forgotten. Now they are the ones who are walking back, and this is bringing great trauma and misery to people who did not deserve to be like that. Now, how do we look at them? Most of us when we look at them, we do feel sorry for them, we do feel bad for them, and we also feel embarrassed that this is the reality of India. So we think of them as really poor people, poor, destitute, hungry, searching for food, the kind of poor we've seen in the movies in the past. But we are all wrong. We understand them all wrong. And because we understand them all wrong, the prescriptions we come up with are also wrong. If your diagnosis is wrong, your prescription is wrong. Because they are not starving poor. They did not come from their villages to the big cities to escape starvation or destitution. They likely had food to eat in the cities. They haven't come to the cities to be able to fill their bellies. They've come to the cities for a better life. They could have been in their village earning manrega and getting their right to food, right BPL ration card grain. But they came looking for a better life, not just for themselves, but for their families. So in the village, you might get 200 from manrega. But if you come to Delhi, Bombay, etc., then even the laborer who just does physical labor, who unfortunately we classify as unskilled labor, can also earn anything between 4 to 650 per shift. And most of these people then work more than one shift because they want to earn more money. So they earn that money, then they go home, they live maybe a dozen to a room, they save a lot of that money and they send it home. Now, to understand why they are coming to the cities, if they are not coming because they are starving in their villages, why are they coming? They are coming because they are also aspirational and they also have ambition for themselves and their children. So we celebrate the fact that our children are they get their engineering degrees and they are all looking for their H1B visas. And then they search for that holy grail, the green card, or what is called as GC in the marital markets, especially of the South. GC is better than green card because it saves words and money in matrimonial ads. So what for our children and children-in-law to be is H1B and GC. And that drives people into immigration. Similarly, a better life drives millions of these workers from India's labor exporting state also into immigration. They migrate to the big cities looking for a better opportunity, just as people will migrate from one country to the other looking for a better opportunity. Go and check in Punjab, for example. Young people from reasonably well-fed, not rich, but well-fed Punjabi families would still land up in Canada somehow, even if they'll spell it with a K, K-A-N-A-D-A. They'll land up there, live as illegals, cut onions in a curry restaurant, maybe as illegal still, drive taxis. Why? Why do they leave their comfortable life back home? They do it because they think that can give them a quantum jump in their lives. They go for better opportunity. People also take risks. People also suffer discomfort. People also suffer extra hard for opportunity. Now, why do our children and children-in-law work that hard to immigrate overseas, get their green cards, get their foreign citizenship, and build their fortunes, etc.? So why do our children and children-in-law go overseas, get their green cards, get their immigration, etc., and settle down there? They are vying so desperately for this thing called GC from a country where this phenomenon would be called living the American dream. What is the American dream? That my children must do better than me. Similarly, if our children, our middle classes or upper classes or PLU's children can live this dream, why can't working class Indians or poor Indians from labor exporting states also build their own Indian dream? Because it has the same basis. My children should do better than me. If you travel around the countryside, I will take you for a drive around rural India, the heartlands. And I've noted this in my series of writings on the wall articles, that the commodity most desperately sought after in the poorest villages of rural India in the Hindi heartland is English medium education, because they want their children to have English medium education. Why? Because they want their children to lead better lives. That's why these people were here, and that's what we need to respect them for, and that's why I think they will come back. Don't go by all this stuff. In anger, they are saying, I will not come back, I will never come back. They will come back because they are not hungry for food. They have food back home. They will get food back home. They will come back because they are living a new dream. And that is what we have failed to understand. That's what even someone as astute politically as Narendra Modi failed to see, and that's how his government dropped this ball. This ball is out of their hands, and his bureaucracy that gamed this lockdown also forgot that these people existed. Now, you want to know what I'm saying? Ask yourselves a question. How come the security guard in your house, or maybe security guard manning the gates, padlocked gates in your colony, in your gated colony, or security guard and security guards in your multi-story apartment complex, how come they haven't gone home? They come from the same parts of India. They come from deep inside eastern UP, western Bihar, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Bundelkhand, Odisha, Bengal. They come from all these states. Their brothers and sisters and cousins have gone back running to their homes. They are walking thousands of kilometers, filling up the highways, sometimes getting run over by trucks, trains, dying on the way because of sickness and hunger, also delivering babies on the way. See a story that my young colleagues Jyoti Yadav and Bismi Taskin have done from Bihar about one case where a man nearly reached his home walking more than 1,000 kilometers and then dropped dead, was tested after his death and was found COVID positive. And then another case where they give a ride to a pregnant woman in labor pains to take her to the hospital and watch a childbirth. So they watch a death and a childbirth on the highway on the same day. But how come your security guards are not doing it? They are not doing it. They have the same fears and same apprehensions. What's happening to my family? Are they hit by the virus? They have the same fears. They are not going because they are assured their wages. And because they are assured their wages, they are working at, go and check with them. All of them, almost all of them work 2 shifts because they want to earn more money. They also live 10 to a room so that they can save as much of it as possible and send home. Again, not to fill their children's belly or their family's belly, to give them a little more surplus, maybe buy a couple of fans, even a cooler, maybe a smartphone, and definitely, first of all, a better life for my children. So this is a lack of understanding of this India, which we describe as collarless India. If we had reached out to them, if Narendra Modi had reached out to them and said, hang on, we'll make sure you somehow get a few weeks' wages, would have cost less money than all the money that's now been transferred to their accounts. It would have still saved them the trauma of walking back home, this grand humiliation, mass humiliation of Indian working classes that you haven't seen in decades. In fact, I don't know the last time I saw such a collective humiliation of hardworking Indians, and it would have also saved India this great global embarrassment, because anywhere look in the global media now, you can blame them for whatever, but the pictures you see from India are pictures of these poor people walking back, blistered feet, barefooted. Remember, once again, they were not barefooted. They had enough resources to be properly clad, to have proper footwear. It's just that no footwear is designed for anybody to walk 1,000 kilometers, just as, I know all of you have seen the image, just as no Samsonite ever or any company, luggage company, designed a suitcase with wheels that can last 500 kilometers of ride, particularly with a child hanging on to the suitcase. That's a picture you've seen of migrant workers outside of Agra.